So, we're going to talk about the truth, money, and sex. How's that sound? Uh, and I feel like I'm qualified to touch on those subjects a little bit. I've had sex with over 200 women, right? I was an absolute terror in my 20s and 30s. Um, and I'm not sure the point of sex other than procreation, you know. And that sounds like sadistic in and of itself, right? Because sex is so good. But yeah, I want to reference someone who said no to me, right? Because that didn't happen too often for me. But this person said something that stopped me, essentially dead in my tracks. And what she said was, "Don't you even ask," right? And I was, in the middle of the moment and thinking, everything was hunky dory, and clearly it wasn't. So I stopped and got out of the bed, and that was that. I didn't pursue or persist. I was taken aback that I wasn't aware of the situation, and we didn't sleep together, and um, I referenced that because we live in this sexualized culture for sure, and we are sexual beings, right? And obviously, we have a problem in our society about consent, right? And what we are willing to consent to as a society that we know is going on that's wrong. So that's one thing. I want to just touch on that and say that reciprocity and consent is of utmost importance, and children cannot consent to anything. That's why it's abuse. Um, uh, the money part, um, I dropped out of two colleges, right? I dropped out of Bryant. Technically, my father came up to Bryant and said, "I'm not paying for these grades." And we packed up the car and we left. And that was a smart move on his part. And then I dropped out of Quinnipiac, uh, and happy to do so, right? And it was important to me to um, to make more money than somebody with a degree, and I did that at Apex Systems. I was director of national accounts, clearing 150, 180K a year, right? I was in a sales position before that, account management, and I wasn't working. I wasn't working, right? I was taking people out. I was going, having fun, playing around on the golf course. I spent minimal time in the office. I was working hard at my job, but my job was to get other people jobs. I was good at what I did, and a lot of it had to do with relationship building. Anyway, my point is your job is fucking stupid, right? I haven't worked in corporate in 11 years. I haven't had sex in about 2 years. And, I had my son 3.5 years ago. Not that I had him, right? I didn't play much of a part in that. Uh, but my point is, we live in this culture and society that's not exactly truthful. We know that we've been lied to every step of the way for conditioning and programming to be taken away from our higher power and our true self, right? Um, so I think that God is forgiving, and I think that God cares about the truth. That's what I think. Um, None of us are perfect, but it's really important for us to try to be truthful with ourselves and with each other. And I think that right now, this is a critical juncture for people to be honest, because if we're not honest about what's going on, I think it's going to get a lot worse. Just my 2 cents.